Hi, today's good person to know is Grant Allen. He's Technology Program Manager for Google. His talk is on Glass, which will be released sometime next year in 2014, but we don't know exactly when. Grant says anyone can develop for Glass and explains how simple it is and how it works. This video is particularly useful for designers, developers and programmers. The image size resolution for Glass will be that of a business card and will run by timelines. A typical timeline may have several pages, in which case it will be called a bundle. Grant says it's an interactive device and Google have preset some actions to make it easier, such as reply, all and share. The tools needed for Android development are no different to Glass, and so there's no reason why you can't start building today, immediately. Do it. All the information to get you started is online, and if that's not enough to entice you, Google have prepared some templates that you can play around with in their playground. Go to developer.google.com/glass. If you're a designer and you want to stay ahead of the competition and be the latest to develop for Glass, this is the perfect video for you. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching.
If you are like me waiting until 2014 for the release, you can start planning, designing and developing right now. We like to call this both a new experience and a new technology at the same time. This is what a mock-up of a timeline looks like. In the timeline, as events happen, as apps that you subscribe to are allowed to send you information, friends share things with you. The content in a timeline card can be just text. I'll show you an example of that in real time in a moment. It can be HTML, and that can draw on pretty much any resource you like to populate that rich HTML. One exception is JavaScript. The other options, images and video. The resolution is 640 by 360. So it's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. A particular kind of timeline card is what we call the bundle. And this is, if you like, a group or a collection of cards that go together because they share a theme or a purpose. The metaphor that we use to show you that this is a bundle is the little turned corner in the top right. That's the signal to the user that, hey, there's more here, there's a bundle of cards behind here. Absolutely designed to be an interactive device, not simply a passive information consumption device, which means you want to do things with your timeline, you want to do things with Glass. One of the fundamental building blocks are menus. We have a bunch of stock items, stock actions if you like, that people are almost always going to want to perform when they see something in their timeline. These are things like reply, it's the classic example. Someone sends you an invite, you want to reply. Share, reply all, mark as favorite, those sorts of things. One of the fundamental building blocks of Glass apps and development is the notion of sharing contacts, of shared contacts. These are basically contacts that you have with whom you are happy to interact in some fashion through Glass, whether that's through a share, through a reply, and so forth. The entire development model for the Mirror API is built around two very simple technologies, two technologies that have existed for years and years and years. One is simple, RESTful web services. So that's literally good old-fashioned HTML, just sending a block of information to a server. The second technology that we use, for those of you who've used it before, you'll already spotted it. This is a notation known as JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. It's just text. This is it in a nutshell. Somewhere is a user who's using Glass. You have written a fantastic service. Let's say it's this restaurant review app that we were talking about. And the way you interact with the user is simply registering your service with Google. Users discover your service and say, yeah, I'm happy to share information with Grant's restaurant review service or whatever it may be. And the flow right now using the Mirror API is you get notifications, people subscribe and so forth, and it's nothing more complicated than those technologies I mentioned. If you're familiar with the tools that come with Android and Android development, then you're familiar with the tools you need to develop for Glass. So should you go for the Mirror API now? Should you wait for the GPTK? Should you think about a third-party tool, something like that? I want to encourage you to start developing right now, which means I want you to think about using the Mirror API. What can you do now? I'm glad you asked. UI design. Thinking about the flow of your application, thinking about the experience you want your users to have. This is not going to change just because the GPTK comes along. So your UI is actually coming from the prism that you see on your right-hand side. This is your touch interface here. This is it. This is the live site right now. You can go to the Glass playground. This is just the payload, the JSON payload that Glass is being sent. This is what it will look like when it renders in somebody's class. And you can prototype what you think your Glass design should look like, how your transitions might work, and so forth, right here in the playground. So the URL is just developers.google.com/glass/playground. You can also find it from the homepage on the developer site. Down here are all sorts of templates that you can choose from, start playing around with. You can actually get in there, play with URLs for things like images and other content that you might want to put in HTML, video, and so forth. For those of you who are keen on the video, the codecs are H.263 and H.264. For those of you who are design fans who really want to get into the thick of it, the playground is using the real style sheet that comes with our Mirror API services. You can go mad with your design, and then you can actually grab the CSS if that's what you want to do. We do support CSS in the HTML cards, so if you want that sort of handcrafted look and feel of pixel-perfect CSS, you've got access to the CSS. I will warn you, you'll be pleased to know I did omit the intervening 12 pages before we get to this one. There is a lot of it, but it's there. You can literally just hit the download link right there on the playground site and actually see how the card's designed. A lot of the stock cards that I was showing you, a lot of the templates, things like the train services in San Francisco, the flight card, the movie card, and so forth, had a bunch of flat icons that some of you will recognize as the free icon set that comes with ADT and a few of the other tools that we offer. These flat icons is to do with the neuroscience behind people just recognizing what they're seeing while they're interfacing with class. One of the other things you can do right now is think about, okay, I've got this card, it's only about this big, 640 by 360. What can I do that doesn't require thousands of words on that card? Now, the cards can float. So one of the uses for bundles is to share a collection of information, but you don't need to use a bundle to show very long text. The CSS behind the cards is smart enough to flow the text. So these sorts of perceived affordances are the sorts of things you can start building into your designs right now, because they'll carry forward through Mirror API, through the GPTK, and so forth.